Players you may not know are playing top 10 baseball right now. The major leagues have been full of movement in the last month. Teams are restructuring and either planning for the future or building for a deep playoff run. In this new forming landscape that's the second half of the 2023 season, we find some not-so-well-known players who are crushing balls and playing top-tier baseball. We'll start in the NL East, where a pair of teammates launched back-to-back home runs off the first two pitches in a game. The Washington Nationals are far from competing for a World Series title this year, but they do have a few pieces that the team could be built around to compete in the near future. Looking at the shortstop position, there's a young man by the name of C.J. Abrams who's been filling up the stat sheet almost every night. Quietly, he's putting together a 100-hit season and has over 20 doubles, 10 home runs, and swiped 25 bases. He's got a nice 2.2 WAR to go along with a 968 fielding percentage and over 65 double plays turned. Means that he'll be a solid infielder for years to come. His teammate, outfielder Lane Thomas, who's 27 years old, has been equally impressive, showing a high level of efficiency at the plate and on the base paths. Defensively, his solid commitment to his craft has produced a 992 fielding percentage, and that's only outshone by the 75 runs he scored, while making over 125 hits, over 25 doubles, 15 home runs, and a 3.4 WAR, showing how much value he adds to his team. On the same coast, we switch over to the American League East, where the Baltimore Orioles have found themselves on top of the division, and that couldn't have been done without the young, talented players the systems farm. But there's one player that doesn't get mentioned as much as fellow relief pitchers, Yennier Cano or Felix Bautista, and deserves to be brought to the light. I'm talking about left-handed pitcher Danny Coulombe, a 33-year-old veteran who's quietly having one of the best seasons of his career. With an ERA of 2.77, a whip of 110, and 11.1 strikeouts per innings pitched, any baseball fan can see why this team is winning ball games. When faced with a deficit as an opposing team going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it can be an impossible task to overcome this three-headed monster waiting for you in the pen. Next, staying in the AL, but going to the Central, we find a hidden gem in Kansas City with shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., who's 25 years old, hitting 360 over a one-week period, while at the same time getting 2 home runs and 7 runs batted in, all of which tallies up to equal team-leading stats. When we say team-leading stats, we mean a 268 batting average, over 20 home runs, over 65 RBIs, a 308 on-base percentage, over 120 hits, 7 triples, and 32 stolen bases. This can all be reflected in the 3 wins above replacement rating he currently holds, which equates to him having a similar value as Thomas does for the Nationals. In the same part of the country, but a little further north, the Guardians have been a below 500 team, but still find themselves in second place in the division. First baseman Josh Naylor was recently placed on the injured list, which leaves better-known players like third baseman Jose Ramirez, second baseman Andres Jimenez, and center fielder Miles Straw to carry the offense. Along with these other players, there's an outfielder who's having a solid year at the plate, on top of a potential Gold Glove caliber defensive game. In 108 games played, left fielder Stephen Kwan has amassed over 245 outfield putouts, while committing only a single error and maintaining a 996 fielding percentage. Offensively, in over 445 at-bats, the 25-year-old player has scored over 70 runs and produced over 120 hits. 26 of those were doubles, 3 of them were triples, and 5 were home runs. Throw in over 15 steals and a 2.9 WAR rating, and you can see the value of this man from Los Gatos, California. Shifting over to the NL Central, where the Cincinnati Reds are on top of the division because of their solid defense and recently also their pitching. This is in part due to a young, talented starting pitcher by the name of Andrew Abbott. who was brought up this season, and his debut has gone very well. After 12 starts, the 24-year-old has slowed down in his last 2 starts, but still remains excellent with a 2.93 ERA, over 70 strikeouts and 70 innings pitched, and has earned 6 wins among his 8 quality starts. A solid 2.7 WAR reveals the true value his presence on the mound has afforded the Reds. Good to know, especially when looking towards the playoffs and future seasons for this MLB organization. In the same division, but opposite side of the standings, the Pittsburgh Pirates have had little to celebrate and not much to sell at the deadline. They did move first baseman Carlos Santana, but didn't listen to any offers on outfielder Andrew McCutchen. With all the waves caused amidst the shortstop O'Neal Cruz's injury, there has been some stability in the sales of the organization. When the Pirates do have a lead, they have a man in the back end that ensures that in the 9th inning, it stays that way. David Bednar has come through when it matters the most, and in over 45 innings played, he saved 22 games, struck out over 55 batters, and maintains a 1.01 whip and a 1.38 ERA. At 28 years old, this closer enjoys playing for his hometown team, and that's reflected in his on-field performance. The Texas Rangers were major buyers during the trade deadline in order to add a few more pieces to their otherwise solid roster. When you take a look at their infield, you'll find a pair of solid players. There's all-star shortstop Corey Seager, but you might be overlooking the man at second, who's been having an amazing season, amassing over 450 at-bats over 11 games played. Second baseman Marcus Semien, who at 32 years old has seen a few rodeos, scored 90 runs with over 125 hits, over 30 doubles, 15 home runs, and 70 RBI. He even managed to steal about 9 bags so far. His glove is also reliable, with over 200 putouts, over 250 infield assists, and a fielding percentage of .985, with over 70 double plays turned. A defensive 1.2 wins above replacement is dwarfed by the over 4.7 WAR rating this man currently holds. When most baseball fans think of the NL West, whether they're casual or hardcore fans, the teams that usually come up are the Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and occasionally the Diamondbacks, especially when referring to the Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling years during their World Series championship run. Little thought is ever spent on the small market Rocky Mountain team, which every so often comes out with a team that pushes for the playoffs. This year, a young shortstop by the name of Ezequiel Tovar, at only 22 years old, has quietly become a solid Major League professional infielder. His numbers may not jump out at you, but he ranks in the top 100 in batting average at .255. He scored 50 runs, just needs 3 more hits to reach 100, and has over 100 putouts, over 270 infield assists, and has helped turn 67 double plays, all while committing only 5 errors in 103 games played. Very solid for a young guy who's just earned his full-time starting role. In the same division, but down south in the Arizona desert, the Diamondbacks have been staying in the race, holding above 500 with strong defense and clutch offense. Much of the talk around the club is about left fielder Corbin Carroll, along with the former Blue Jay Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and the power from first baseman Christian Walker. There should be more talk about what second baseman Ketel Marte is doing on both sides of the ball. On defense, he has over 150 putouts, over 245 infield assists, and a .980 fielding percentage. On offense, and over 400 at-bats as a 29-year-old, Ketel Marte has scored over 70 runs, collected 115 hits, and smashed 7 triples and 15 home runs. Alright, there you have it. 10 players that stood out this year, but have been relatively unknown in the average American household. They're performing well for their teams, earning their places on the roster, and their playing time on the field through their results. as the season ramps up for the playoff push. Players like these will be important to the contenders, providing professional and reliable effort and the results to match. Let me know if you can think of any other players that most people asleep on. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.